Hey, hello everyone. It's been a long time. Like 3 months, jeez. Okay, so this is my other character intro. So this is my third addition to my trio that I've had all these years ago. This is Hanaluna. She is a character that I wanted to work on all that time ago, just as to add more diversity to my array of characters that I made. So she's another old one. She's like, goes way back. So I wanted to practice making a character that was depicted as the opposite sex as I was. And so, back when I was first working on her, I thought that I had to do all these different things and complex ideas and look into so many things to try and do it accurately, as if there was like one way to do it. But I just figured out that you just have to make a good character. It doesn't matter like what sex they are, you just make them a good character, and that's the same thing for all. So she brings a unique perspective, a unique addition to the team that I have here. My team's kind of like, cartoonish. They're hella inconsistent, so like they're cartoony, so at some points when they're like joking around, sometimes they'll seem like they're silly and I guess quote unquote weak or something, but they're really, like, in my universe, the most powerful thing next to God in my universe, because they are still created. But I don't know, I just do a lot of whatever I want in my imagination whenever I'm depicting these guys. And so what she does differently with the combat style and how she is just that she is an embodiment of the role that I believe women as a whole contribute to relationships in society and community, and the good things that both of us are supposed to do for each other, because I believe that we are supposed to be strengthening each other. But anyways, that's a different conversation here and there if I want to get into specifics. But like the nurturing, the more in tune with the emotions, and then the sympathetic and empathetic, caring, stuff like that. And so personality wise, it's kind of like a general summarization of women's differences from men, but exceptions here and there, and I don't say this as a hard rule. So when it comes to her abilities, she's pretty creative and tactical, manipulative in her combat style, probably similar to how Black Widow in First Avengers, I actually kind of liked that one, the first Avengers movies. But anyways, they use their opponent's attacks and strength and weight against them, so basically using their moves against them to fight in a more creative way, or to use it's a pretty common fighting style that people have already incorporated. So I just do that because all these characters are extremely powerful, but it's just she's still just third best compared to the other two that I've made, which doesn't mean that she's weak at all. It's just, in general, they're all just at a super incomprehensibly high level. And so she's very witty and detail-oriented. She's very patient, loyal, wise, and persistent. Sometimes stubbornness is a good thing. It's a little bit of stuff inspired by Katara from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'll mention that show again later. But not like in the annoying way. Trust me, not in the annoying way. Anyways, so in the Bible, sometimes wisdom can be portrayed as a female, which I thought was pretty interesting. I watched certain things from the Bible Project, and so I got one inspiration about a trait by that. And so, well, actually, how about I just go right now? about the hair. Right. So, in a sec, you'll see that over the years, as I would draw her, I would sometimes draw her with hair, like wavy hair that was usually tied up in like a similar manner to Fire Nation Katara. So, I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender with my family a long time ago, and I got some inspirations on how the characters are drawn. I'm sure you can see that, and also in anime too. She's a little bit exaggerated in the face department. I could probably work on it a little bit, but my faces are cartoonish in general. So yeah, when I'm drawing, I'm trying not to be overtly sexual with it, so I just try to draw the most average as possible. So I'm like, okay, but you can't ever satisfy everybody, but you can piss everybody off, and so. But anyways, the wavy hair, and then inspired by when Katara was like, I think in the Fire Nation, she had like that different hairstyle. So I used to draw her with that too, with those two braids on the side, and I used to draw her with a very polite looking smile all the time. You'll see that later. I liked it. Yeah, so scripture, I would look at scripture whenever I would decide what kind of things I want them to uphold, or what kind of rules they would set upon themselves, or by the creator / God, because I make the story, but God exists in my universe, or yeah. And so there's nothing really romantic in here or anything. They all are basically in a eternal state of like heavenly and godly love for each other that we probably can't comprehend, descriptions of heaven. So it's like there's nothing like that going on. They're always going on adventures, and so they help each other develop. They hold each other accountable to certain things. They improve upon themselves. They have fun, and they learn a thing or two. But again, these guys are billions of years old, so they wouldn't be too ignorant of too many things. But with all that time and a vast universe, there is always something to look at and learn, which is why I always loved looking at space a lot, and airships. But anyways, with her, I always try to not be biased with drawing her as like trying to be all pretty all the time. I just try to be consistent with my style. So like the cartoonish positions and expressions that they would do. And so these guys are an allegory in my universe to the cherubim, seraphim, powers, and archangels of the Abrahamic Bible. And so with their wing-like ears, they look like seraphim with the covering the face of seraphim, of the Bible, sorry. And then cherubim, because they are basically like dragons. They're basically like a roughly humanoid shaped mix of like any life form, except for like plants, like all animals. And so they fight demons and any evil forces in the universe with the accuser, or quote-unquote Satan, which is a title, or somebody who serves that role. And they are leaders like Archangel Michael, akin to Archangel Michael, but they are not he. So this is the 3/4 angle that I used to draw all the time, but I really got to work on my variants here. So that's the smile that I used to do like a lot. Whenever I would draw her, I would do like the same smile, and I'm like, okay, I got to work on like doing something else. But anyways, that's what you get. Mind my nose. Sorry, it's very cold out, and so I think I may have caught something. But anyways, there's the 3/4 angle. I try to learn different angles and point of views when drawing, and so I have to know how to draw them like from behind or below or above or to the side. Close up, you gotta like know them in and out in order to draw them like a lot, especially like when animating. And I'll probably put my little animation that I did like right here in the editing. So here's her with the hair, the wavy-ish hair that's like in between the two ears. And so, man, I played with her modified ears on the lower part like a lot, but I thought that this kind of fit her, you know, the very fanciful, puffy kind of ears. She's shorter than the rest. My characters had very simplistic caricatures of their bodies. So Ryal or Ryalaz, the big guy, used to be like, you know, pretty top heavy, you know, typical Hulk / Gorilla Kong looking type of build. It's a bit more evened out because these guys have like big legs like dinosaurs. But anyways, and then Rotongo or Motongo or Ruakiel, they're known by many names. He's like the fast one. He's the agile one, the quick and speedy one. He would be like in the middle, pretty balanced, you know, like fit, ripped, a speed build instead of like a strength build. And so she would kind of have the qualities of both of them, where she can uses more of her power and gets faster as the fight goes along, depending on the power or threat level of whatever demon or fallen angel she's fighting with. But right now in my canon, it's not infinite as to say, but none of these characters can die, so. And so there's the hair, and then I forgot what those were called. They're called like those hair things. I think we saw them on Katara, and then we also see them on Korra. That show. Anyways. In a sec. Alright, where am I? And then she would be like a little bit bottom heavy on her. Alright, come on. Look, I'm just doing things, okay? No, it's just a coincidence. Then she would be like in the bottom. I mean, come on. Women just have different shaped hips, okay? Sorry, call me out, whatever. So I would try to do that to make them identifiable. You know, like a good character design could be based off of a silhouette where you can't see the full thing. And so I try to look at a whole lot of different things to differentiate and give them a little bit of personality and identity. I'm trying, but man, I am the worst procrastinator, and I'm too lazy, so I just need to work on my laziness. So these things, I don't know if anybody knows what these are, but these things like on the side, I thought it looked good, but I don't know, because I don't want to give my other guy's hair, so I don't know. Like, it would be pretty inconsistent to just give her that for no reason. But anyways, yeah, so a lot of when I used to draw these guys, I had like different eras of drawing styles where I had the faces like so long. It was just me learning how to just draw people and expressions and stuff like that, just because I loved, well, I've said this before, but I loved, you know, all the DreamWorks and Disney movies, How to Train Your Dragon, and the ears, they add another layer to different expressions that you can do, and I love that. Love looking at cartoons and just entertaining myself in my head with the characters I made that are pretty satisfying to just watch do whatever. So this channel is, well, I really do. I've been gaining some subscribers here and there. Probably it's just because I've been collaborating and doing stuff that's involved with hybrids and other larger channels, which is probably why. And I'm not stopping with that, but it's just, my channel isn't just that, and I love, it's gonna be like, this is probably just gonna be like the quote-unquote superhero genre. So I like to do stuff in that community, and then also like the speculative zoology and the paleontology and creature design community and all that stuff, because there's like a whole bunch of cool creatures in this universe that I have, with the planet of Zoram, the speculative planet of hybridized dragons, basically. And so there's a whole giant cast of all that in there. It's a giant adventure, and so that's kind of what I wanted, because all of my thoughts are very cinematic, just because I was raised with Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, Sinbad, Lion King, a lot of DreamWorks and Disney, so naturally I'm just like, I want to get that too. And so I've been trying, but this online and digital art is really just another world, so trust me, I'm trying, but nobody's ever trying hard enough. So I gotta fucking lock in, bro. But anyways, oh yeah, so like weapons. So they all have like pretty identifiable weapons. Ryalaz, or Rael, he has a big mace, basically. Danger and strength, insurmountable strength with his mace. But they all have tails, and so what I thought was like, since they have like the power of like anything, it's like, what if they just had their weapons like at the end of their tails, just so that they could have, a little bit more of a combative contribution with their tails, because everybody always, like, if you're gonna make a character that has a tail that's prehensile, which is always like every character with a tail, then if it's gonna be prehensile, you can just make it do something when you're fighting. Like, I don't get it whenever people like do that, and then it's like they use it as like a crutch, and I'm like, no, like, if you can do something with it, then you do something with it. Like when characters have multiple arms, and then when they're getting beat up, they just sit there and do nothing. Anyways, so she has like a giant, what's this called? Spear. It was something from Asia. Oh, I forgot the name. I forgot to look it up when recording. Anyways, she's got like that. Ryalaz has the mace. Motongo, or Ruakiel, has the basic sword. It's a classic, so I mean, everybody does it, so you gotta do it. Sword, or a spear, or an axe. They all have a lot of different weapons that they can make. In fact, there's a lot of weapons that they actually use that are actually parts of all the massive creatures of Zoram, which I got inspiration-wise from Monster Hunter, of course. So, yeah. They're all pretty adept at fighting, since they're super old. So they've done a lot of stuff, and so, they use different animals. So you got like Ratongo, who's kind of like a kangaroo, and she is kind of like a puma with her agility and explosive energy, and Ryalaz is like a bear, ground sloth, or gorilla. So they all use this in different aspects, and they specialize in different combat styles, and all very impressively. So, lightweight strength, durability, endurance, and speed. So all specializations of representations of just like how you can use different things to do that. But anyways, I appreciate everybody listening, and I hope you all have a great day.